Hello, everybody. I'm going to give folks just a second to get logged on, and then we will get started. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the June RDLA webinar. This webinar is going to focus on rare disease policy and advocacy as it relates to the young adult and youth population. So we have some really great speakers here for you, and we're really excited that you are joining us. As we go through this webinar, if you have any questions, you can type them into the Q&A box, and a member of our team will direct your question to the speakers. Just a reminder, if we do have any media joining us, we ask that you formally announce your participation and refrain from quoting any of the discussion during the webinar. Instead, we encourage you to follow up with participants afterwards for direct quotes. And just a reminder for everyone who is attending, this webinar is being recorded, and it will be made available on our website by the end of the day today. We do also offer closed captioning during these webinars, so if you're interested in using that, you can click the live transcript button at the bottom of your window. We also have Spanish translation services available. If you would like to use those, you can click the link that Priscilla has posted in the chat for you, and that will pull up. All right, so let's get into our agenda a little bit. We just recently had RDLA's Youth and Teen Advocacy Day. So we are joined, unfortunately, only by one of our young adult advocates from that event. Charlotte is having some Wi-Fi issues, so isn't able to join us. But we are joined by Lonnie Lou Rivera, who is one of the young adult advocates that participated in the event. So we will hear from Lonnie Lou. We are also joined by Jamie Sullivan with the Every Life Foundation for Rare Diseases, Dr. Laura Tossi with the OI Foundation. Next, we have Lisa Fachola and Jess Myers with the Hereditary Angioedema Association. And then last but not least, Courtney Felly with the Every Life Foundation for Rare Diseases. So I'm just going to quickly fill in for Charlotte here. We hate that she wasn't able to join us. I sat in Charlotte's meetings with her as part of the Youth and Teen Advocacy Day, and Charlotte spoke so beautifully about the Creating Hope Reauthorization Act. So I really hate that she isn't here to share her story and share her perspective on the bill, but I'll quickly go over that for you all. So the Creating Hope Reauthorization Act is a bill that is now in the House and Senate, and it offers incentives to drug companies who develop treatments for drugs that are for pediatric rare diseases. And so companies can take that voucher that they receive as their incentive, and they can use it to speed up the FDA review of another drug that they are developing, or they can sell the voucher to another drug company who can use it for the same purpose. And so Charlotte talked about this bill and talked about what this bill would mean for rare disease treatments, not only as a whole, but for pediatric patients. So I'm going to turn things over to Jamie, and Jamie is going to give you guys just some updates on this bill and what's going on in Congress with the bill right now.
Great, thanks, Caitlin. So I know we've talked about the Creating Hope Reauthorization Act, which would reauthorize the Rare Pediatric PRV program on these webinars in the past. And for those of you who participated in Rare Disease Week and in the Youth and Teen Hill Day, it was one of the asks. And I believe, Caitlin, those training materials, are available on our website if you want some additional resources that are geared towards explaining the PRV for young adults and children. But basically, where are we now? So without going into the weeds of what is the Rare Pediatric Priority Review voucher, which we've covered. The update is mostly good. We're making progress with some hiccups. So the Creating Hope Act was introduced in the House just before Rare Disease Week. And it is a bipartisan bill, which is wonderful. Anything that's going to advance to the finish line right now needs to be. So our focus really is truly on creating bipartisan support for the PRV reauthorization. Since it was introduced, there are 43 co-sponsors specifically signed on to the Creating Hope Reauthorization Act. But we're also seeing movement in the House. So a bill goes through, if you hear the term regular order, it means that a bill is going to get introduced. It's going to get assigned to a subcommittee that is going to start the early conversations about the bill and consider any amendments or changes to the bill. And after that subcommittee comes the full committee, and then only then would a bill then progress to be voted on by the full House. So that's kind of what regular order typically looks like. It doesn't always happen like that. There are ways to create shortcuts in the process, but we love to see when a bill is moving through that regular order process. So just a few weeks ago, the Creating Hope Act was indeed brought up by the Subcommittee on Health, which is the Energy and Commerce Committee. That's the committee that we work with a lot in the House. They deal with a lot of health related bills. And during that markup, the bill was combined in an amendment with a bill called the Give Kids a Chance Act. Which is HR 3433 for those who are looking it up. And another bill that we're also tracking called the RARE Act was also combined with the Give Kids a Chance Act. And so what that means is that we still will talk about the Creating Hope Reauthorization Act when you hear us talking about it, because that's truly the policy that we're seeing, we want to see moved, but in technically, now the PRV will be reauthorized via the Give Kids a Chance Act. So if you hear Give Kids a Chance Act and you hear that that's passed, if the current version stands, that means the PRV would be reauthorized as well. And another amendment that happened in that process was that the length of the reauthorization was extended from 4 to 6 years. So for the recent reauthorization, there was a 4-year reauthorization that you had to obtain your pediatric designation within those 4 years, but you had another 2 years to obtain your approval and actually get your voucher. This caused a bunch of workflow issues for the FDA, and ultimately it was simpler if it was a straight reauthorization. So the amendment moved it to 6 years. So if that was the version that was passed, it would mean that the program would be reauthorized until 2030. And you would, any treatment with a rare pediatric designation that qualified otherwise for a PRV would have to be approved by September 30th, 2030. In order to be eligible for a PRV. So that 2-year window is gone, which we think it simplifies things and makes things easier for the FDA as well to manage the workflow. That amended bill was passed out of the subcommittee, not unanimously, but with some bipartisan support. And today they were supposed to have brought up this bill in a markup for the full committee. That was supposed to have occurred at 10. I was hoping to come here with some good news. At the last minute, that markup was canceled, not because of a disagreement necessarily about the PRV, but about one of the other issues that was on the agenda for the day related to privacy changes, privacy policies. So we're hopeful that the committee will work that out. And even if they don't work that piece out, not hold up the rest of the health bills that were scheduled to be considered today so that we can keep moving forward and making progress. The other thing that's happened is there have been several suggestions for changes to the PRV reauthorization that we feel like would be harmful. So none of those suggestions have been put forward, officially, but because the markup was canceled today, but it's something we're watching, and we're watching to make sure that the program, the bill that moves forward maintains a program that's working right now to help incentivize pediatric rare disease research. And then lastly, another update that was exciting, and in the last couple of weeks, we've seen the Senate bill introduced as well, which was a critical step forward. That Senate bill was introduced in a bipartisan way with 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. It was led once again by Senator Casey from Pennsylvania, and he was joined by Senator Brown in Ohio. And then we also, on the Republican side, saw Mark Wayne Mullen take a leadership role, and he was joined by Senator Collins from Maine as well. So we're excited to see that key step in the process, and we are awaiting word on what will happen next in the Senate, when we will get rescheduled for a House markup. And then ultimately, we just are going to keep up the pressure. We want to make sure that that Congress understands the importance of a timely reauthorization. If something does not get reauthorized by the end of the fiscal year, which is September 30th, we will press Congress to make sure that whatever temporary funding measure they pass would also extend the PRV program until a full solution can get reached. So we will keep up the pressure. We will keep letting you know. If you haven't acted or reached out on this bill yet, there is an active action alert on the RDLA page. You can send your members a message, or if you've met with staff before, as many of you have, you can reach out directly to them, let them know that this matters to the rare disease community, and the program really should be, reauthorized in a timely way, and without changes that would really harm the intent of the incentives. So I think, Caitlin, that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions, but that's the update for now.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jamie. We will hear from Jamie again in just 1 second. But for now, I'm going to turn things over to Lonnie Lou Rivera. Like I mentioned before, Lonnie Lou is one of our young adult advocates who participated in RDLA's Youth and Teen Advocacy Day. And she's here to talk to you guys a little bit about the Accelerating Kids Access to Care Act. So Lonnie Lou, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lonnie, and I'm a resident of Pinellas County, Florida. I was a 2022 Rare Artist Awardee. I'd like to discuss the Accelerating Kids Access to Care Act. I'm advocating for this because I, as a foster child, had to travel out of Florida to get my rare cleft fixed. Medicaid was really frustrating, ask my mom. After a few months and lots of calls, then Governor Rick Scott helped us reach the Administration of Health, and we got to Boston. All kids deserve care. In addition to my rare cleft, I have a rare mitochondrial disease. I don't know what the future holds. I'm happily adopted, and I still have Medicaid. I may need care outside of Florida. I do know that I want to live a productive life and make a difference. I want to be a veterinarian. Thank you for your time. Thank you for helping Florida foster, adoptive, and all kids.
Lonnie Lou, that was great. Thank you so much.
May I add something?
Of course.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to add that, as you may know, or Lonnie mentioned, that she does not necessarily have, she had the cleft and some other rare diseases, but there are a few lingering that we don't know, and we have unspecified, meaning they don't know what they are. So in the future, we really need access, not only Lonnie, but all foster kids, all adoptive kids, and all kids. And we might travel to Cleveland Clinic, or we might have to travel here because there are doctors that have very rare, they're very specific for rare diseases. So for us, it would mean the best care for our Lonnie Lou, and it would mean most likely traveling out of state because no one knows except for that one doctor somewhere. Right. So we thank you for your consideration, and it's really, really helpful, and we're so proud.
Yes, we're all big fans of Lonnie Lou and also proud of her. Thank you both for being here today, and Lonnie for sharing your story and talking a little bit about the bill. We really appreciate you guys being here. I am going to turn things over to Jamie really quickly for Jamie to provide an update on what's going on with the Accelerating Kids Access to Care Act.
Great. Well, first, hard act to follow. Thank you so much, Lonnie Lou, for sharing on this webinar and during the Youth and Teen Hill Day. You're very brave to share your story and so impactful. So thank you. Just a quick update on Accelerating Kids Access to CARE Act. This bill was advanced out of the full Energy and Commerce Committee. It was included in a markup that was held just about 2 weeks ago on June 12th. And it passed out of the Energy and Commerce Committee with unanimous support. Not only that, there was a lot of conversation, both in the full committee and the subcommittee markup, just expressing how common sense this solution is and how much it's an example of a real problem with a practical solution that Congress can come together and do the right thing, pass a simple fix that can help streamline a process that isn't working right for kids right now. And so there was great support and recognition for the bill during those conversations. And we're hopeful that along with having 117 co-sponsors in the House will really mean that there's some movement this Congress and getting this to the finish line. On the Senate side, there is a companion bill as well, and there are 38 Senate co-sponsors, which is actually really good for a Senate bill to have that many co-sponsors, and it's a real sign that there's interest and recognition this is a solution that needs to move forward. One of the things that's helped the bill is they got a new what's called a CBO score. If you're not familiar with that, that is the office that determines an estimate of how much a new policy will cost. And in the past, one of the challenges for bringing the bill to the finish line was that office estimated really high expenditures as a result of this change. But what was clear was that their estimate was based on flawed information that they had at hand, and that they were making some wrong assumptions. And so advocacy efforts over the last year or so have behind the scenes focused on making sure that the CBO had the right information to use and pressing them to rescore the bill and provide a new estimate. And that estimate was produced last month, and it dropped drastically, somewhere in the range of $5 billion into $200 million. So it's a huge difference. It shows the power of advocacy in a slightly different way that we had to that they had to focus on really making sure that the assumptions were correct, the information that decisions were being made on was correct, and that will pay off and really help make sure the bill can move forward with a much lower price tag, and that's just going to help streamline its path in Congress. So again, thank you so much, Lonnie Lou. Thank you to everyone that was participating in the Youth and Teen Hill Day and talking about this bill, and it's really making a difference.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And I second that. This bill has gained so much momentum. So thank you for, being a part of the Youth and Teen Advocacy Day and sharing your story, and being here today to share your story. So thank you, both Jamie and Lonnie Lou. I am now going to turn things over to Dr. Laura Tossi with the OI Foundation. So Laura, we'll go ahead and turn things over to you.
Thank you so very much for having me with you today. I am not a young adult. I am an orthopedic surgeon who has been in practice at Children's Hospital in Washington, D.C. for 40 years come August. My practice, however, is very particularly oriented towards individuals with rare diseases. And so it has been a great honor and pleasure for me to work with organizations that have been helping me and many colleagues deal with what we used to call nowhere to go, nowhere to transition our patients to now we're trying to call it somewhere to go, because we need to find that place. So many of our patients are happily surviving well into adulthood, and we want them to get there safely. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk a little bit about what we're doing. I have endless disclosures. I don't make money at any of them, but we have a tradition of showing disclosures. Next slide, please. So we got started, and I'm saying we as the OI Foundation, thanks to something called the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute. And I hope that people who are involved with organizations on this presentation are aware of this, because they were founded at the beginning of the Obama administration in direct response to the problem that while we have many improving ways of treating things, we don't always get the patients to follow the recommendations. And there was a strong feeling that because patients weren't part of the process, they weren't interested and willing to follow the recommendations. Next slide. So they really turned research on its head. I come from a background where we started and the doctor said, we're going to look at this. And now we have a two-way street, as we call it sometimes, we have to have back and forth discussions with the patients. Next slide, please. So nowadays, if you're doing a PCOR project, we go to the patients absolutely first and determine what are the questions they care about, how they want us to conduct the study. They help us interpret results. And we particularly turn to patients on sharing those findings. Next slide. For the OI Foundation, and I apologize for those of you who don't know, OI is osteogenesis imperfecta, commonly known as brittle bone disease. We are now on to our 4th award and really worked hard to try to identify what does the community really care about and how can we really reach out to the entire community, particularly because, interestingly enough, many patients don't even know they have OI. Next slide, please. In the process, we heard loud and clear that we needed to pay much more attention to transition and to adult care. If we're going to help people to live into adulthood, for goodness sakes, let's have quality care when they get there. Let's have access to physicians who know what to do. Next slide. So I would argue that this isn't just a problem for OI. Adults with childhood onset disorders are absolutely exploding population, and yet many people put their head in the sand. And for many of the folks on this call with a rare condition, I think you'll recognize that there are often, if you can get to a center of excellence, multidisciplinary clinics. Those simply do not exist in the adult world. And so I love this cartoon. Sometimes even if I stand in the middle of the room, no one acknowledges me. This is a huge problem. Very few folks are acknowledging it. Next slide. Now there is gut transition, and hats off to them. They've been out there for close to 40 years talking about what good transition is all about. Next slide. The problem with gut transition historically is it assumed there was some nice soul catching this, our folks. And in fact, most of our patients are falling off a cliff, and that's a dangerous cliff to fall off of. Next slide. So as part of our award in our study, our goal was to talk to everybody who was willing, not just among OI stakeholders, but also other leaders of rare disease organizations, specialty societies, advocacy organizations, payers, politicians, etc. Next slide. Our goal was to explore the gaps and opportunities that are out there and to try to look at what the OI Foundation, which is like most rare disease organizations, small, with limited staff, what can a small foundation do? Next slide. Our goal was to create a strategic plan. We don't have one yet, but we're working on it. Next slide. So we got our patients involved right up front and developed a patient advisory committee, a medical advisory committee. We recruited everyone who would pay attention to us, and we had extended listening sessions. We found, next slide, endless reports, but many that will ring true to this audience. Patients aren't given instructions when they leave pediatric care what to do. They're often dropped by adult care physicians before they even get in the front door because the doctors learn they have a rare disease. Our patients avoid emergency rooms because they are afraid that they're going to be cared for by someone who doesn't know what the dickens they're doing. And our constituency is overwhelmed because they're constantly having to educate new doctors. Lack of adequate insurance, a big deal. Next slide. And our physicians said, hey, we don't know what happens in adulthood. No one has done those natural history studies. No one has the time to develop the expertise. Our patients are generally avoided and our doctors just don't have the time to listen. Next slide. So we had a huge shopping list. How do we make a difference? Next slide. Now, all the time we were working on this, it turned out Got Transition was actually getting its act together and not supporting rare disease, but looking at the patient with a complex disorder. And there's a lot of overlap. And so here's a group that does have more money, more political clout. And I'm pleased to tell you that they are already working on trying to encourage medical schools to change what they teach, make patients more, or make physicians more aware of what's going on. They're working on payment models, et cetera. So it's not that we have to go out and do this because we're too small. We can't. Next slide. But there are things we can do as a small organization. So one of the things we did, and I urge you to go to the OI website, is develop an adult health toolkit, because the toolkit we developed works for almost any rare disease, because it's all about taking the initiative, caring for yourself, developing the information that will help you stay safe. Next slide. We also figured out that educational and academic institutions aren't going to develop that long-term care information. And we are now putting together what are called Delphi panels, where we're getting together experts to dig out what research there is out there so that we can help physicians who are willing to take on our patients. We will be issuing our first report on cardiac care in just a few weeks. Next slide. But then the question came up, okay, we're a more common rare disease. There are about 50,000 people in the US with OI. What can we do to lift all the boats? Next slide. And we decided to have a conference, and this is where the title of my talk came from. Again, we initially called it Nowhere to Go and changed it to be Somewhere to Go in October of last year, and got together about 80 different rare disease organizations to start to say, what can small groups do? Next slide. First thing we're working on is what's called a landscape analysis. We're trying to figure out what everybody else is doing so we don't duplicate efforts. We are working right now to develop a rare disease transition resource information center where hopefully different rare disease advocacy groups will put out on the web that which they already have. If this works, hopefully it can be a one-stop shopping for the doctor who's lost or the family who's lost. We are going to reconvene in October of this year and really start to look at two things. What are the what additional inexpensive things can we start to encourage our rare disease partners to do? And what are we going to call success? How are we going to measure ourselves? How are we going to show potential groups that they want to work with us? So we hope some of your members will be, in fact, joining us in October. Next slide. So we're all in this together. I want to be sure my patients are safe. Patients want to be sure they stay safe. What is the best strategy that will capture this rapidly changing story, not just for today, but for the long term? Next slide. I want to acknowledge the fabulous people from the OI Foundation who've been supporting this effort, and also staff from Children's National who have been helping me. This is going to be a long-term effort, but we have wonderful legions of young adults moving into adulthood. We want them to have access to the highest possible quality care we can get them. Thank you very much for listening.
Great. Thank you so much for that presentation and for an update on the initiative you guys are all working on. We really appreciate it. And if folks watching, if you have any questions for Dr. Tossi, please put those in the Q&A and we will direct those questions over to her in a bit. Thank you, Dr. Tossi.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So now I'm going to switch things over just a bit. We are now going to hear from Lisa Facciola and Jess Myers from the Hereditary Angioedema Association. So Lisa and Jess, I will go ahead and turn things over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Caitlin. I'm Jess Myers. I am the Communications and Advocacy Manager at the HAEA, and then I'll pass it over to Lisa.
Sure. My name is Lisa Facciola. I am the Youth Programs Manager at the HAEA. And first, before we get started, I just want to thank EveryLife and RDLA for hosting this fabulous webinar. It's an excellent topic and so important, and we just appreciate being part of it. So thank you so much. The HAEA, we are celebrating our 25th anniversary, so we've been around for quite some time. We serve a population of people and their families that have been diagnosed with hereditary angioedema. Jess and I both have the diagnosis, and so this condition is really close to our hearts. We wanted to talk a little bit today about some of our successes with our youth advocacy program, how we engage young people in the legislative discussions and legislative advocacy. So we can just turn to the next slide and talk a little bit about why youth are so important in this process. Youth involvement in legislative advocacy is necessary to guarantee that policymakers take into account young people's experiences and their needs throughout all stages of life. Young people need to be represented. They bring diverse perspectives to the table. And they also make sure that policymakers are held accountable to the needs and concerns of young people. So this ensures that policies are inclusive and equitable and considerate of young people's needs. Next slide. So we've had quite a few success stories. This is Allie. I really wanted to highlight that young people want their voice to be included in the legislative process. They want to be involved. A lot of them think that this is not accessible to them, that this is something that only adults can do. Maybe they, for Allie, she is of voting age, but for kids who are under 18, they don't even know that they can be included in this process. Allie's been with us for quite some time. Her brother, Jack, has HAE. But as a caregiver, Allie, and I'll just read part of her quote here. She says, as a caregiver, being able to be heard in my efforts to advocate for my loved one is the most valuable takeaway from this event. She has really found strength in being an advocate for her little brother and now serves as a caregiver leader in our community, inspiring other caregivers to take on this role. It's really wonderful. And through legislative advocacy, she's been able to use her voice to help her brother. Next slide.
All right.
Jess is gonna, go ahead.
I'll take this one over. So in thinking about how we can involve more young people within our organization and specifically with our legislative advocacy initiatives, we decided that we were going to develop our own program called the HAEA Youth Advocacy Network. It's a branch off of our adult advocacy network, but it specializes in youth-focused trainings and advocacy opportunities for teens and young adults. It amplifies our collective voice by rallying young people between the ages of 12 and 25. We're very specific in choosing those ages to make sure that everyone is included sometimes it's tough as a young adult to feel like you're a part of the regular adult population, especially when dealing with insurance challenges. It's like a whole brand new world. So we wanted to make sure it wasn't just 18 plus. And then we are very flexible with the 12 age range. If anyone younger wants to be involved, they are also welcome to be so. But it really is so important to include them and also give them a variety of opportunities. Some of these kids feel very nervous when going into any sort of advocacy opportunity. They're not really sure what they're doing. They don't really know how to talk about their illness yet. And so oftentimes we will tell kids that just being in the room is just as important as sharing anything else. You know, it's important when we come with numbers. And so if they're not ready to speak on it yet, that's okay, but just showing up does something. So within our advocacy network, we have different tiers to make sure that those that are not really sure they're ready yet can still be a part of something, and that those that are ready to go and, you know, use a microphone and stand up and share their story can also have opportunities to do that. So we have 3 tiers. We have just youth advocate, which is our basic tier. Then we have a state captain, and then we also have regional leaders. And so we make sure that there are different variety of opportunities for each young person that wants to be involved in the network. If we could go to the next slide, please. Wonderful. So our program goals within this network is to educate youth and young adults about the importance of playing an active role in advocacy and legislative programs specific to our disease. We also want to empower young people to become advocates and make sure that they feel comfortable sharing their story and have a growing impact on public policy affecting our community. We want to inspire them and make sure that, you know, these are our young people that are going to be eventually the leaders in our space beyond just our youth programs. We want to make sure that they are inspired for our next generation of whatever comes next. And then also a big goal that we have been working on, we're not quite there yet, but we are getting close, is to represent each US state within the network members. We can go to the next slide. All right, so we offer a variety of opportunities, like I said earlier. One of the big things that we've been doing in the past 2 years is hosting virtual training workshops, much like what we have today, but they are disease specific. So we are going over different issues that relate to whatever we're advocating on for Capitol Hill, and then also some things like, you know, when insurance challenges come up, how do you handle those things, advocating for yourself, how to share your story, all of those things. And so we've had a really nice group of kids come on to these virtual training workshops and help them to prepare to become effective and educated advocates. We also offer in-person advocacy opportunities. So some examples of this is that we took some youth to the Every Life RDLA conference for Rare Disease Day earlier this year. And then we also host our own Capitol Hill Day every other year on the Hill, and then virtually on the years that we're not in person. And then also a lot of times what we've seen with doing the Youth Advocacy Network is that everything is connected with advocacy. There are so many different ways to advocate. It can be, you know, advocacy on social media. It can be sharing your story. It can be doing a school presentation on your condition or your sibling's condition. And so oftentimes when they come into the advocacy space, we found other spots for them to grow within our organization as well. So it's really, it's been such a wonderful experience to open this up to our kids to see who's interested and then see where else they can also help us. You want to go to the next slide, please? Thank you. I'll pass it back over to Lisa.
Sure. So what we've also found just within these opportunities that are provided to young people really jump at personal and professional development opportunities. So a lot of the programs and a lot of the opportunities that we provide them are kind of built around this framework of personal and professional development. These are things that they can put on their resume, topics that they can write essays about. These are all, you know, things that are building to their personal and professional toolkit. But this is Jasmine. Jasmine is also one of our incredible young advocates who talks a little bit here about the impact that legislative advocacy and advocacy has played in her journey. We met Jasmine when I think she was about 16 years old. She was very nervous and unsure of her diagnosis, wasn't comfortable speaking about it, speaking to other people. Overall, just very, just kind of coming into her skin, right? As a young person with a rare disease diagnosis. But she provided us with this fabulous testimonial that I think really illustrates the impact of involvement in these programs. And she said, I have learned that advocacy plays a role when you're diagnosed with an ultra rare disease. When I look back at my past, I see this young girl who didn't want anyone to know about her condition. Now I see myself as a person who wants to advocate on behalf of my community because I want to make a positive impact in the lives of people affected by hereditary angioedema. And this really plays into this evolution that takes place when young people begin to find their voice and participate in these meaningful activities. They build confidence, they come into their skin, and they learn how to have their own voice, which is something that's incredibly important to develop as someone who needs to advocate for yourself for the rest of your life. And so next slide. So, you know, as we all know, legislative advocacy can be complex, and some of these issues are really difficult to break down. Jasmine, going back to the personal and professional development, Jasmine was given the opportunity to work with us on a project that was an advocacy project. Her and I worked together to build this successful advocacy journey guide. And we'll talk a little bit more about that and review it in a minute, but this has become a fabulous resource. This was entirely led by Jasmine. She built out, you know, we worked together, obviously, well, with my support, we worked together to build out, you know, what kind of things are important for an emerging advocate to know as they're coming into this space and entering the world of advocacy, specifically legislative advocacy, and built together this guide that now we pass out and use for a variety of purposes. It's also available on our website, but it's been an incredibly beautiful product of this young woman who has become so passionate about advocacy and giving back and engaging other young people in this journey. As far as breaking down these complex issues, Jess and I have found that breaking these issues into short videos for social media and posting them on our Instagram page has been really, really productive in taking one issue. We do have a legislative agenda within the HAEA that we focus on, and Jess is going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But we take each issue and break it down into a 5 to 7 minute video that we then post on social media and in our stories. This provides young people access to these videos, and it also allows us to repost them as we get closer to our advocacy days, so young people can watch and refresh themselves on these issues and make it into kind of like bite-sized pieces of information, because I think young people can, you know, hear about these legislative asks and these policy, and there's a lot of big words. There's a lot of complex issues, a lot of insurance issues in particular, that's really hard. So breaking it down into these bite-sized pieces has been really successful for us. But also bringing together young people for in-person training workshops when available has also been an amazing opportunity to build enthusiasm and generate a really big sense of community within our young population, where they come together and they feed off of each other. And it's a really beautiful thing to see, because a lot of the kids do come to us very nervous and unsure about what legislative advocacy means, but coming together with their peers, and that the energy really, I'd say, is contagious, and the kids go through this experience together. But we also have this opportunity within these in-person trainings to bring in policy discussion and engage in meaningful chats, and have, you know, smaller discussion groups where they can discuss their issues on a micro level. All right, next slide. All right, so this is just kind of a glance at the advocacy guide and what we included. We really talked a little bit about what is grassroots advocacy, why is it important, why should young people be involved in legislative advocacy. Jasmine here shares her story a little bit. We talk a little bit about our advocacy network as a whole, but we also have a vision and aim for our youth advocacy program. And our vision is that we imagine a world where every HAE patient has access to advanced treatment options that allows them to live life to the fullest. And our aim is to empower young people to have a voice, to advocate for themselves and their communities, to educate others, and to raise awareness about HAE. Next slide. The last, the back page, so it's just a one pager, like a little magazine, some tips on becoming a successful advocate. And these were some tips that Jasmine pulled as her recommendations to other young advocates to kind of give them some inspiration. But identify your motivation, share your story, get educated, take action, and of course follow up. Next slide. So we are prepping for our 2024 Capitol Hill Day. That's happening in just a few weeks. We're looking forward to Courtney joining us as a guest speaker for our event. One of the things I'll just say is I got a call from a dad recently, and he's like, my daughter and I were signed up for Capitol Hill Day, but she's so nervous. She doesn't know what she's going to say. And I explained to him, there's really nothing to be nervous about. We don't expect young people to come to our event and be seasoned advocates overnight. This is an evolutionary thing that takes place over multiple exposures to this experience. And for young people who come in and just want to observe, we welcome that. For young people who want to come in and they want to share their story and they feel comfortable with that, that's amazing too. But we don't invite people to this event thinking that they are going to be professional advocates and professional storytellers right off the bat. So I just really wanted to highlight that this isn't being involved in legislative advocacy doesn't mean that you need to be an expert. It doesn't mean that you need to be well-versed in policy. It means that you're willing to show up and join us for the meeting and participate if you feel up for it. But again, this is a long-term investment in fostering growth through opportunities that empower and educate young people to effectively use their voice. We're expecting quite a few young people at our event. We have identified youth leaders and mentors who are going to be leading smaller discussion groups within this larger group. The specialized youth training workshop is necessary. There have been Capitol Hill days where we have not offered this as an opportunity for our youth members. And they always come back to me and they say, hey, Lisa, I really love this. This was fabulous, but I just didn't feel like I understood the issues well enough. I really wish that I would have had more time to learn about them in advance. So this is really something that we put a lot of value into before we send our kids to the Hill. And then we're going to bring the kids and the adults together so that the kids can get to know their group through a joint youth and adult training opportunity. And then we have our legislative meetings. Jess is going to talk a little bit about the focus of our legislative agenda this year.
Yeah, so our legislative agenda usually focuses on access to medications. As a condition, we are lucky to have something available. It's now just, now that it's been approved, how do we get access to that medication? So our legislative agenda for this year consists of the Safe Step Act, the Help Copays Act, and then also the Accelerating Kids Access to Care Act, as well as some rare disease appropriations for the following year. So we're very excited. I know that this definitely aligns with what EveryLife is also doing in their priorities. And we are excited to partner with them both through our Capitol Hill Day and then whatever legislative events they have alongside as well. If we could go to the next slide, sorry. All right. So go ahead, Lisa, sorry.
We just want to thank everyone for joining us today. Jess, awesome job. I'll let you wrap it up.
Yeah, if anyone wants to get in contact with us or has any questions, I know there was a question in the chat about our booklet. Lisa has put the link there, but we also have lots of resources on our website. If anyone is curious, it's haea.org. Lisa and I have our emails listed there. And if you want to follow our youth on Instagram, they have their own Instagram account at HAEA Youth.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jess and Lisa, both for being here and sharing about your program and ways that folks can get involved. If anyone watching has questions for Lisa or Jess, feel free to put those questions into the Q&A. I see one question here. Will the recording be shared? Yes, recording is going to be shared on our website, hopefully by the end of the day today. So keep an eye out there. And thank you so much, both Lisa and Jess, for being here and sharing with us.
Thank you.
Awesome. We have one more presentation for you guys. So I'm going to turn things over to you, Courtney.
Yeah, thank you so much, Caitlin. I feel like I'm coming on the heels of so many amazing speakers. So thank you for letting me close out today. We can go to the next slide. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about our young adult program, the Young Adult Rare Representatives, or YAR, and our healthcare decision-making guide that we put together in September of 2022. The full name is Healthcare Decision-Making for Young Adults with Rare Diseases, a resource guide. And along the lines of what Lisa and Jess were talking about, we found that young adults were really interested in taking on more advocacy with their own healthcare and then moving that broader to legislative advocacy and more communal advocacy. So Caitlin, if you can click the next slide. Amazing. So YAR, we define as 16 to 30. You've heard some different age ranges throughout today in terms of who defines young adult as what age range. For us, this choice was meant to encompass people aging out of their parents' insurance. As many of you know, if you are on a private insurance plan in the United States, that transition often comes when you turn 26. So we wanted to cover some of that age range as folks are moving potentially through college or graduate school and further beyond and dealing with that healthcare transition and all of the accompanying life transitions that come with being a young adult. And we include patient advocates themselves, as well as family members and other loved ones. YAR actually originally came as an offshoot of RDLA. So the idea was to specifically empower the young adult subset of RDLA and to create skill building opportunities for folks who are in this age range. And you can see some of our fantastic young adults in the pictures along these slides. Caitlin, you can switch to the next one. So this is where our YAR healthcare guide comes in. Like I said, this emerged from YAR members directly. We host monthly virtual meetings to have an open conversation space and elicit feedback from a lot of our young adult advocates. You can think about this almost as RDLA has its advisory council and solicits feedback as we go. And one of the emerging themes that continue to recur is that young adults really wanted more tools for advocating for themselves in healthcare. There was this gap where people wanted to speak up more, wanted to feel empowered, wanted to feel like they had the treatment and the quality healthcare that they needed in order to be able to, say, travel to DC and speak on the Hill, or have more motivation and physical energy to dedicate towards advocacy. And this is where our YAR healthcare guide came in. We worked with young adults in a small focus group to determine the outline of the main questions they had and how that interfaced with big policy issues, specifically in the access landscape, along the lines of navigating something like step therapy, which the Safe Step Act addresses. How do you understand what public and private insurance laws are and what that transition looks like regulatorily? And so I want to thank all the YAR members who shared their experiences. A lot of them who were comfortable being publicly named. You can see quotes from them throughout the YAR healthcare guide on our website, which I'll share a link to in a little bit. But this couldn't have been done without those young adults bringing this issue up and then bringing their own insights up, their own advice, sharing their own tips and tricks like Jasmine did for the HAEA guide. So Caitlin, if we can go to the next slide. So this is the quote that's on the homepage of the guide. It's from one of our YAR Leadership Academy graduates, Amelia. And I just think that this underscores a lot where this piece of transition and healthcare planning ties into policy and bigger advocacy. Amelia says in the middle here that advocating and using her voice in decision-making ensures that she has control over her own body, that she understands what's happening to her, and that she's empowered to make educated decisions when faced with choices that will have major impacts on her quality of life. As that relates also to becoming an advocate, advocating in a larger sense, and also just feeling empowered, some of the more emotional angles of being able to say, get up and talk to a legislator ultimately. So if we can go to the next slide. So this is where a lot of the pieces around transition that we were talking about earlier come in. Young adults understand a lot of the issues. Jess, I'll shout out that you happen to be in this picture from the YAR meetup, and I just thought that that was particularly fun to include here. But young adults understand, they're living on the ground today, that transition from pediatric to adult healthcare. They're seeing where the access barriers are. They're seeing what legislation has not yet successfully addressed. So Caitlin, if you can click it again. The main issue is trying to figure out more pathways for young adults to offer direct feedback to decision makers. How can young adults represent their own perspectives on what that transition looks like as the folks who are really experiencing it today and seeing where some of those gaps are that we haven't yet fully addressed? So we can go to the next slide. So this is where I just want to emphasize as we wrap up, including young adults directly in some of these policymaking priorities in legislative advocacy and in all the advocacy work that our patient organizations are taking on. Like I've said, young adults are often the experts on what it is like to experience these issues today. They know what it's like to be a young adult going into an appointment and falling off of that healthcare transition cliff, or struggling where maybe they don't feel like it's fully a cliff, but they certainly don't feel like they're getting all the care they need. They're seeing all of the often very complicated gaps as they exist in practice. Collaborating with young adults in a more dedicated program also allows them to identify barriers together. I do introductory calls with all of our new young adult advocates, and I always emphasize that it is a framework to figure out how your individual story connects to wider structural level issues that folks across the rare disease community are seeing, and often that young adults in the rare disease community are really seeing because of that specific intersection of everything else chaotic that happens during the young adult life stage. This also allows a foundation for brainstorming solutions together and often motivating each other to work on issues. You watch young adults get really excited to advocate for their friends as well as themselves and push some of these larger issues forward. The young adults in YAR this year have been really excited about ensuring access to approved treatments as well, and doing a lot of access-oriented legislative advocacy. And you can definitely see the ways that they provide motivation and support to each other throughout that, more than I think that they could find alone, which is of course what we want to see and have folks feel. So if we can go to the next slide. So that is just everything in terms of tying together the importance of including young adults. These are all of the ways that you can connect with YAR directly. This is my email at the bottom as well if you are a young adult on the call or if you work with young adult advocates that you feel like might benefit from some connection to the EveryLife Foundation and our work. But thank you so much, Caitlin, for letting me just join and talk a little bit and close out today's webinar. And thank you again to all the other speakers.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Courtney. I am going to close this out really quickly with a couple of reminders. All right, so Rare Across America is coming up very soon in August. Meetings are going to take place August 5th through the 16th. And during that time, advocates are going to meet with their 2 senators virtually, and then their 1 representative at the member's in-state and district office. No experience is required to participate in Rare Across America. We will have trainings beforehand. We will get you prepped and make sure that you are ready to go. Registration is going to close for this event on July 12th. So if you're not already registered, be sure to go to rareacrossamerica.org and get signed up. Whenever you register, it will ask you what days or times between the 5th and 16th you're not available. And then we will work to schedule your meetings around that availability. Our next RDLA webinar is going to be July 18th. So keep an eye out for that and save that date. And then of course, if you're not already signed up for our newsletter, you can do so at rareadvocates.org. The RDLA newsletter goes out monthly and includes federal and state policy updates. It includes free resources for the community as well as free events for the rare disease community. And you can also follow us on social media to keep up with everything, EveryLife, and RDLA. And then of course, if you have any questions, you are welcome to reach out to myself or Shannon. Both of our email addresses are on the screen there. And last but not least, a huge thank you to our June RDLA webinar sponsors, and a huge thank you to each of our speakers for taking the time to join today's call and share your story or more about the work that your organization is doing. We appreciate each of you, and thank you for being here and spending your hour with us. We hope to see you guys next month or at Rare Across America. See you guys until then.